Your boom pineapple wine, you $50 all the time.
In the last video, we drained the steering system of its fluid. In this video, we'll be adding new seastar hydraulic steering fluid. Before adding fluid to the system, I'm just going around checking all of my connections, all of my fittings. Once the fluid starts flowing, I want no leaks. Sorry for the wind noise. Apparently, it was pretty windy that day. This tool I'm connecting now is a tool from Marine Tech Tools. It's clear tubing with two hydraulic fittings to either end of it. The quick disconnect connections on the tube connects to the bleed fittings on the steering ram. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a link to it in the description. Next up, I'll be connecting the fill tube to the helm. This will allow me to add fluid to the system. It's a simple screw-in connection. When I'm by myself, this is the best way I found to do it. I string a piece of rope to either side of the T-top, then I grab myself two old hangers. With those old hangers, I create a cradle for the hydraulic fluids bottle to sit in while it drains down into the system. If the cradle is too high, I could always loosen one side and let the rope hang down a little bit more. Once the cradle is constructed, I then take down the bottle and the cradle and I attach the bottle to the fill tube. Now this part is a bit tricky. The the cap that they use to connect to the fill tube and to the hydraulic steering bottle, it always leaks. And I always forget to add that Teflon tape or that thread sealant tape to stop it from leaking. So I always have to grab a rag. With these fill kits, they usually send you a little thumbtack, and you use that thumbtack to poke a hole in the bottom of the bottle to allow air to escape the bottle. And this allows the fluid to flow consistently down the tube and into the steering system. This small hole also allows air to escape the system. With the setup out the way, there's not much else to do other than just start turning the wheel. What I usually do is turn the wheel 25 times to the right and 25 times to the left. What this does is work the fluid throughout the system. With the tool we connected, in the beginning does is connect the two chambers on either side of the ram, and that allows fluid to flow through the system as one continuous loop. By constantly turning the helm to the left and to the right, you consistently work the air bubbles out of the system. The air bubbles return to the helm, and once they hit the helm, you can watch them go up the tube and exit through that small hole you made in the bottom of the bottle. Once again, sorry for the wind noise. It was really windy that day. However, once fluid starts to enter the system and it's almost full, the motor or the engine will start to turn with the rotations of the steering wheel. Once it locks either to left or right, that's when I start my count, my 25 to 30 times rotation, just to try work those bubbles out. If I can still see bubbles at the end of that rotation, sometimes I continue a little bit longer just to see if the bubbles come out. Usually when you start to turn the next way, the bubbles come out pretty quick. That clicking sound you're hearing is the sound of the valves opening and closing inside the helm. There isn't much fluid in the system as yet. As long as there are bubbles in the system and you can see them flowing through that tube, you just keep on turning. Like I said, I do 25 to 30 turns. But if I can see bubbles still flowing in that direction, I might do some more. I complete this process of turning the wheel left and right for about 30 to 40 minutes. I let it settle for a bit, come back, and then I continue turning the wheel. My setup usually takes a full bottle and a third. It all depends on the length of your hoses and how many rams you have. That'll dictate how much fluid you need for your system. With mine, it's a bottle and a third. Once the first bottle is pretty much emptied and I can see the height of the fluid level inside the fill tube, I will go ahead and change out the bottle for a new bottle. Now I don't actually change out the bottle. What I do is cut a hole in the bottom, a much bigger hole in the bottom of the first bottle, and I pour the new bottle into the first bottle. Forgive me, but I don't believe I have footage of me doing that. For about 30 to 45 minutes, I constantly turn the wheel, 30 to the left, 30 to the right, just so I know when I'm finished, I get a nice responsive reaction from the steering wheel every time I turn it. When dealing with this type of system, it's best to just have a rag on hand. You just can't get away from making a mess sometimes. Satisfied with how responsive the steering is, I remove the fill tube, I remove the tool from the engine, and I clean up. My usual test to see if the steering is correct is I try to turn the wheel. If the wheel turns 2 to 3 inches and the engine doesn't start to move, then I know I need to purge some more air from the system. So I go back to spinning left, spinning right, and just watching out for bubbles. You can also go to the engine physically and move the engine from the left to the right. If you get about 4, 5 inches of play before the engine stops or the wheel jerks, then you know there's still a lot of air inside the system, and you need to continue spinning that wheel to try and get that out. When you're all done, you should have one nice, clean, smooth transition from left to right, from right to left. No jerking, no stopping, no pausing. There should be no play in your steering wheel before your engine starts to turn. And with that said, I will see you in the next video.